Hi everyone, let us go through the lesson structure creation. After completing this lesson, we should be able to identify the setup task for structures and create product structures. So these are the topics which we'll be covering. The first topic is on overview of structures. So this section, as part of this section, we'll be discussing about the product structures and what they mean in Fusion applications. As you could see in this particular diagram, it depicts the product structure of a bicycle. So you could see the various parts of a bicycle. And we will also discuss about the reference designator nodes as well, which is relevant for an assembly. Just to give an example, the seat assembly uses 7 screws. So these reference designator nodes basically mention or provide the details that one should be, that is, one screw should be on the front and 6 on the sides. So what is a structure in Fusion applications? So it is basically a list of components that are used to manufacture or assemble an item. An example which we have just taken is a bicycle, which is made up of one frame, one handlebar, one set of pedals and 2 wheels. So each wheel is made up of spokes, gears and tire. So multiple structures. So we can create a structure for each of our business purpose. Just to give an example there, we can create one engineering structure which lists the components from building the item, and we could also create one planning structure which lists the components from planning perspective. So we could have it different structures created for each business purpose. So structures again can be validated against the life cycle, which we've already have gone through during the item related lesson. Again, a structure is specific to an organization. The table in this slide basically provides the descriptions for item structure types and common structures. So item structure type is a way of creating multiple structure types to suit various business purposes. As we have taken an example earlier, we could create different structures, one for engineering point of view and one for planning perspective. And common structures are structures that are maintained in one organization but shared by reference by other organizations. So if there is any change made to the structure, it is automatically gets applied or available for the sharing organizations for that particular structure. So what are the various setup tasks for structures? So as you could see in this particular slide, the various setup tasks for structures along with their description. So please note that all these tasks are optional. So some of them are say manage structure header descriptive flex fields. So we could create in case if you need more information, you want to add additional attributes, so you could use these descriptive flex fields. And we have the task manage item structure type details, which provides a way of creating multiple structure types to suit various business purposes. So item structure type details. So how do we set up structures? So some of the key tasks for setting up structures are manage structures. We'll be discussing about each one of these tasks in the next few slides. Manage valid component type rules, and the optional tasks are defining the flex fields, the descriptive flex fields. So as part of this manage valid component type rule, we could use this task to define rule to define valid component types based on key item attributes. So this particular screenshot depicts the manage item structure type details page, as you could see on the screenshot, and it has two sections, that is the structure names and item attachment categories. So for each business purpose, say for just to take the example which we have taken earlier, engineering, planning, etc. So we could create for each of those business purposes a separate structure. And we can create it by executing the manage item structure type details task, as you could see on this particular screenshot. And how to enable the life cycle validation. So every item has a life cycle phase which we have discussed as part of the lesson 5, that is item creation, that is prototype, design, production and obsolete are the various life cycle phases. So for example, if an item, taking example of bicycle again, is in design phase, and then all the components in its structure, that it could be a wheel, it could be the frame, etc., should also be in design phase or in a later phase, certainly not in a previous phase. And we have to use primary for expansion. That is, let us take an example. An item, say bicycle, has multiple or may have multiple structures, and one of them may be for planning. So the planning structure may include wheel as one of the components. So wheel being an assembly might have multiple structures including primary. So when we expand bike by applying its planning structure, and if the wheel does not have a matching planning structure, then its primary structure will be used for expansion. So, and structures can be made active or inactive. And coming to the section attachment categories, so we could assign a restricted number of attachment categories to a structure. So for example, you could restrict attachment of CAD drawings only to engineering structures. And just to, in case if some of the people are from EBS background, structure is kind of synonymous with bill of materials or BOM. So product structure flow. So this is a typical product structure flow entails creating, managing and comparing a product structure. So product structure creation. So we could create the product structures using any of the ways, like that is create as a new, create from copy or create from common. So let us discuss each one of them, starting with create as new. So we could create a new structure just by adding the required components and their information. So if you want to create a product structure from a copy, then the new structure is similar to an existing structure, and once you copy that, you could make any necessary changes. And we could also create a structure from the option create from common. If you use say for example, if you want to use this structure for multiple organizations, so then we could we could ensure that multiple organizations share the same structure. So we could make it common with the structure from a source organization. So remember that when the structures are common, any change made to the structure in the source organization is automatically available to the target organizations. And remember that we cannot edit the structure in the target organization. We could edit the structure only in the source organization. So how to create as new. So this is a slide basically depicting giving the steps how to create a structure as new. So we will have to specify select an item for which you want to create a structure. You need to specify the structure name, description, and effectivity control, and then add the components which you want to add for that particular structure. So this is a screen which shows you the options, that is create new, create from copy, and create from common. So in this particular slide, we will be discussing if you want to create the product structure as a new, so you need to select the radio button, create new. So you could see you will select the component under which you want to add the structure, and then you could click on select and add, and you could add the various components. So you could also add substitute components also. This is totally optional, and if once you add a particular component to a structure, say for M1 screws, as you could see on this particular screenshot. So if you want to add M1 reverts as a substitute item, what you could do is you select that particular component, and in the component details section, go to the substitutes tab, and you could add M1 reverts as an alternative or a substitute item. And we've also have discussed about these reference designators as well earlier. This is again totally optional. This basically, these nodes we can provide the details. Say, just to give an example, for the seat assembly there are 7 screws, and 1 in the front and 6 should be on the sides. So if you want to kind of pass on that kind of notes for the assembly during the assembly stages, so you could add that kind of notes as a reference designator. So this screenshot depicts how you can view the details of the structure under the Where Used tab. So it is highlighted for an item M1 screws. As you could see there, it is highlighted for the item M1 screws. So for any of the items, we can view the list of assemblies and sub-assemblies where the component is consumed, and just to give an example here, the M1 screws are used in sub-assemblies, pedal and seats that go into the item bike. So this particular screenshot depicts the edit item structure page and highlight the view summary button. So you could see there is a button view summary. It highlights that particular page. So this screenshot depicts the edit item structure page that allows you to view change orders for an assembly. And this particular screenshot highlights the change order tab. And this particular screenshot or this table shows the different effectivities along with restrictions across which you can copy structures. So we could create a new structure by copying a nearly identical one and then make necessary changes. So some of the steps to create a structure by copying an existing one would be: first, select an item that you want to copy. Preview the components being copied, that is, select the components to copy, and then specify new structure details such as name of the new structure, description, and effectivity of that new structure. So the next one is create from common. That is, as we have discussed, common structures are identical to the source structure from which they are made common. The target structure is created with the same effectivity as the source structure, and the structure type of the common structure should be the same as its source structure. So if two or more organizations must use the same item structure, then we can define the structure in one organization and use it as a source from which to create a common structure in another organization. Instead of creating it again in the another organization, we could just use the structure which has been created in the other organization and create it as a common structure in the second organization. Common structure maintenance. So this diagram depicts 5 material control attributes such as supply type, sub-inventory, locator, operation sequence, and including cost roll-up. So we could allow attribute updates. You can enable this option only when you are creating a common structure. So you cannot enable this option once the common structure has been created. So we need to evaluate the business need thoroughly before creating a common structure. So once you enable the allow attribute updates option in a common structure and save that particular structure, we cannot disable the attributes. So if you must disable the attributes, then you have to delete the structure and enter a new common structure for that particular item. Structure and component validation. So when you create, copy or change a structure, some of the validation rules are applied. So the first one being the life cycle validation rules, which when enabled ensures that all the components which we already have discussed earlier, all the components are in the same life cycle phase or a higher life cycle phase than the parent item. We have taken an example of the bicycle earlier. If bicycle is in production phase, so the components under the bicycle should be either in production phase or in a later life cycle phase. but it cannot be in a previous life cycle phase. So for assemble to order, pick to order, and phantom structures where the parent item has available to promise or ATP components set to no, you would receive a warning when you add a component that has either the item attributes check ATP set to yes or ATP component set to yes. So the warning displays as order details for the parent item, specify no for ATP components. But you should still be able to add components. So let us go ahead and look at the instance on how to create structures. Let us go to the home page. Go to the product management menu. Click on the product management menu and click on the product information management sub menu. And on the task panel, click on create item structure. And in the organization, say select 001 and say I'll take an example of item say CM 82003. Click on search. So I'll take this item CM 82003, click on OK. And I'll select the option. So we could see here the various options: create new, create from copy, and create from common. So I will select the option as create new. Click on OK. So now you are on the structure tab. You could see the structure tab, and if you scroll down, click on the actions menu now and click on select and add. Okay, so under the structure tab, I've clicked on item structure. I was not able to scroll down earlier. So I clicked on the item structure tab and clicked on create new. So now let me select a name here as primary, and you could provide any description, and you could click on you could provide an effectivity date as well, and click on apply and add details. So now you have created a primary structure. So now let us go ahead and add, select this particular prime component, the parent item under which you want to add the components. So select this and click on select and add. You could see here select and add. Here search for say item CM 42056. Click on search, and you could select this particular item and click on edit and add, or you could just simply click on OK. And I could again go ahead and select this particular parent and click on select and add few more components. Say I'll add a component AS21003. Click on search, and let me add one more components and click on edit and add. You want to add multiple components, you could do that as well. Click on OK. So let me add one more components. Click on select and add. Click on search, and let us say let me add AS46334. Click on search, and let me add this particular item as well. Click on OK. Now you could just click on done. So we have created an item structure for item CM82003. Let me save this. You could see this primary structure. If you open this, click on this primary structure, you should be able to view the structure for this particular item CM82003. We have added 3 components, that is CM42056, AS21003 and AS46334. So let us go back to the presentation now. So as part of this lesson, we have learned how to identify the setup tasks for structures, and we also have seen how to create the product structures. Thanks everyone.